You're listening to Served Up, a podcast that features inspiring beverage professionals and topic experts that share their passions through meaningful conversations. I'm your host, Bridget Albert, also known as the Market Fresh Mixologist, an industry mentor with decades of experience. Grab a cocktail and sit back. Let's learn how we can make a positive impact in our industry. Hey y'all, it's Bridget here. I had the opportunity to chat with my new friend, Malte Barnekow. Malte is the CEO of Four Walls Whiskey, a brand born from deep appreciation of friendship, storytelling, and the culture of the barroom. With a background in building and scaling beverage brands, he brings a sharp business vision paired with a genuine love for spirits and communities that enjoy them. Under his leadership, Four Walls Whiskey has positioned itself not just as a whiskey, but as a celebration of shared experiences crafted with authenticity and designed to bring people together. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite Four Walls Whiskey cocktail, and enjoy the show. Malte, welcome to Served Up. I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Great to be here. I'm excited too.
Wonderful. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? So can we start, what really brought you into the beverage industry?
So it was kind of my first job. I'm from Sweden originally. So my first job out of college was with Absolut Vodka. Dream job. It's a job I chased for months and months. And to this day, it's maybe the best job I've ever heard of. It was area manager for the Caribbean and Central America, based in Miami. Miami/Barbados. So I had an office in Barbados, an office in Miami. I was 27 years old, just like an incredible school. I mean, Absolut Vodka was it was such a great marketing school, and just learning the ropes and understanding the industry and the business for 10 years through the transition to Pernod as well. So seeing how that sort of plays out, going from a one brand company to sort of a portfolio company, just an incredible experience. And then as these things go, you think you can do better yourself. You start thinking that maybe I should branch off. I know this now, like maybe I can do something for myself. I went to business school, a place called INSEAD in Paris. And after that, I moved to New York to start a company together with my very good friend, Simon Ford. We started what was then called the 86 Company together, which was based on the idea that bartenders are emerging as these professionals, and professionals have need states that were ill-addressed at the time. I think they're over-addressed now, but back then, bartenders needed more tools. So they needed products that were easy to pour, versatile, at the right price, and that weren't sort of burdened by a bunch of marketing dollars. So very sort of pragmatic. We had a gin, Ford's Gin, which was later sold to Brown-Forman, but we also had a tequila, a rum, and vodka. So we sort of sold. Our idea was we were going to go to market with the ideal premium well, call it. And the vision there was that bartenders were supposed to graduate and become sort of the next iteration of celebrity chefs, have their own sort of brands and influence. And I think that kind of happened to a certain degree, not perhaps at the same level. But bartenders certainly today, I think, play a big role in where the industry goes and what choices are made by consumers. So I think our timing was incredibly good. The gin, I think, Ford's Gin flourished. We made the mistake, by the way, which I think is classic, of trying to prop up the others. Ford's Gin was always going really well, and we spent all this time and money trying to ensure that the others would work also. What we should have done, of course, is abandon the others and just put all our eggs in that one basket. But we got there in the end. We were very lucky. We managed to sell the brand to Brown-Forman. And it's found a really good home there, I think. They were not interested in the other brands. predictably. Timing was good too. We managed to do this before COVID. We wouldn't have survived COVID. We were 90% on premise, so that wouldn't have worked. In fact, it would have been a really good way to bow out and save face, in a sense, actually. But yeah, that was a 9 year sort of blood, sweat, and tears endeavor. And I swore I'd never do it again. But of course, I'm here now doing it again with four
Yes,
walls.
you are.
Yep. So I tried a few things, fractional roles after we sold the brand back in 2019. And I recently joined Four Walls Whiskey, Irish American Whiskey, in October of last year. And it's been a really, really great adventure so far.
Let's talk about that. Simon, I love that you worked with Simon Ford, by the way. Simon's a really good friend of mine for probably the past 25 years. So for a very long time, very familiar with his gin. And
Did I not even mention his name? He doesn't mention my name when he talks about it. Well, maybe that's okay.
He's a good friend. He's been on the show, but let's talk about Four Walls. Can you talk about what really inspired the creation of Four Walls? And how did it land on that particular name?
I mean, I wasn't around for that, but it's actually a very similar, I think, ethos to Ford's Gin in the sense that it was created as a tribute to the bar, which is why it's called Four Walls, so the four walls of a bar. Obviously, the celebrity component with Rob, Charlie, and Glenn, and the Always Sunny show, which, by the way, is the longest running live sitcom show in the history of television, which is incredible. And they just have such an incredible fan base. And they, from what I understand, and again, others can talk more intelligently about this than I can because I wasn't around. But it was just a tribute to the bar as a place where magic happens, where people come together and shed their bullshit, call it, and just it's a place where you could just be together, where you can either cry together or celebrate together or whatever it is, right? And so with that comes also a nod to bartenders as these purveyors of hospitality, and makers of moments. Whereas we're not as, I think, sort of cocktaily as Ford's Gin was. It's more of and it's got this lovely sort of almost kind of blue collar touch to it as well, which I think is also good for the times, right? It's like back to basics a little bit. So Irish American whiskey, the idea being, Irish whiskey being this incredible go-to for simple drinks, right? Shots, whiskey, ginger, but the addition of 5% American rye makes it also very versatile and mixable in more advanced cocktails like the old fashioned. And so it really stands out, which has always been a bit of a challenge with Irish whiskey is that it's a little bit soft, right? So it's hard to make it stand up in cocktails. So an Irish whiskey that has this sort of bold American rye mixed in makes it incredibly versatile. And that's really landing very, very well in the on-premise and with bartenders. So a little bit of a roundabout way to answer your question. There's definitely a nod to the Irish heritage and a nod to the bar, be it a neighborhood bar, a dive, or a high-end cocktail bar, as this magical place that should be celebrated.
Absolutely. And I love the addition of rye to it as well. It just gives it like this backbone. It stands up on its own, but then it's also mixable.
Correct. And it really, again, I wasn't there, but they spent a lot of time, it's 5%. When they went over 5, 6, 7%, it just tasted like a rye, so it was a very intentional mash bill. A 95.5 was the sort of the sweet spot.
Well, with Four Walls, it's really at that intersection of like culture and craftsmanship, right? If you could define the brand's DNA in just a few words, what would it be?
The brand DNA is, I think, in its name, right? The four walls of a bar. Approachable. I think the celebrity feature and the celebrity endorsement for me is a key part of the brand in the sense that it doesn't stand and fall with Rob, Charlie, and Glenn, right? And I like to say when I'm sort of pitching this, like if they left tomorrow, the brand would still work. It probably wouldn't grow as quickly, but it would still work because it stands on this platform of versatility and approachability and just no frills, back to basics. What Rob, Charlie, and Glenn do, and they do it really well, is that they're just there for amplification. And I do believe that a brand that's fueled by a celebrity name, the secret to that success, I think, is more commercial than it is on the brand side. And what I mean by that is that having the association with celebrities that are known and loved opens doors. Everyone will take a meeting. And that's the hard part. Once you have a meeting, it's much easier to get things done. But it's getting that meeting. We're with Southern in the whole country. And that is something that's very, very hard to get these days, right? If you're an entrepreneur and no one knows you from Adam, you're not getting a meeting, let alone a contract with Southern or anybody else for that matter. It's a very difficult environment now. So having the support and the backing of celebrities, whoever they may be, as long as they're not controversial, is incredibly helpful on the commercial side. But I think are limits to what it actually does on the consumer pull side, at least in the beginning. It takes years and years and years to create that sort of brand recognition and get it to actually fly off the shelves. I think you have to be realistic about how quickly a brand can grow. But once you've gotten to that tipping point, then it flies off the shelves. You have to have a little bit of patience.
You brought up, having celebrities, affiliated with a brand. And so how do you approach just that, just being completely unique in such a crowded space of spirits, particularly there's just so many celebrity brands now, and lifestyle driven brands. So how are you positioning yourselves to be truly unique, to stand out?
Honestly, and many will, I think, disagree with me. You don't have to be unique. You just have to be loved and approachable. And you just have to do the work and be good at what you do and just be consistent.
Yeah.
Like, trying to find some sort of special message or unique angle is way overrated, I think. What you need is staying power. You need consistency. You need to know what you're doing, especially in this industry. You need to know pricing. You need to know distribution. You need to know, how to talk to distributors. That alone is an art that takes 10 years to perfect. How to talk to accounts, and then the marketing and getting it off the shelves. That comes later, but getting a solid base. And it's not about being unique. It's about doing all the simple things and doing them consistently and doing them right. That's how you get there, I think.
I agree with you. I think where Four Walls really shines is being authentic.
Exactly. Well, authentic is what I mean by that. If you're honest, whatever your message is, if you're honest, that's what authenticity is all about. And once you're honest, whether people like what you're doing, and in fact, you want to have haters because it means you're doing something right, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can you talk about, now you are, at the helm of Four Walls, let's be real. What's been your biggest leadership lesson?
I mean, you never stop learning, right? My biggest leadership lesson, and perhaps it's agnostic, it doesn't have anything to do with Four Walls necessarily, but I think about this a lot, about what are the things that you want to do and in what order. And if you've had some success in the past, I think you forget how hard it was. And so you have to take a step back and look at all the challenges and be mindful of the solutions. And the solution that was there for a past project might not be the same solution for what you have in front of you, even though it looks the same. So I feel like I've had to learn that like, I'll just do what we did back in, with Ford's Gin and it'll be great. And it's like, no, but it's not the same product, not the same people. It's not the same situation. It's not the same market. Everything's changed. And so I think that's been a big learning for me that is, I mean, of course, there is no playbook, right? There's a playbook, but there isn't a way to sort of copy paste success. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that have had some success, they forget that they were lucky. Luck is such a huge part of being successful in this space or any other space. So I just have to constantly remind myself of that.
Well, especially in this space, I feel like being in spirits or just in any level in beverage, it's an aggressive industry. Let's be real. I would say it's not for the weak. Like, so you better have some luck to carry you through
My goodness.
because
Yeah. I
there's
mean,
so
it's
many
fun, right? It's
struggles,
fun and it's
right?
sexy and but it is difficult. It is a slog. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you better love it on some level and have that luck to carry you through. So with that said, what does success look like for you beyond sales? What legacy are you really hoping to build?
It's such an easy question to answer for me. And again, this is highly personal. And when someone, when I get the question about Ford's Gin, like what do you look back upon, as your success? And obviously you get the warm and fuzzies when you see it on a cocktail list somewhere or someone asks for it by name. And that's great, but that's not even it for me. For me, it's all the people that we hired, that were bartenders for years, and then they became brand ambassadors and then brand managers, and then they went on to lead their own teams, and they're still working for, I'm actually giving myself goosebumps now. They're still working for Ford's Gin, 15 years on. And just, the sense that I had something to do with someone else's career, let alone 18 other people's career, that's huge. But that's agnostic. It's not, has nothing to do with the liquor industry. But that for me is entrepreneurship, being granted that sort of opportunity to build someone else's career. That's special.
It does come down to the people, right?
For sure. Not
Especially
for everyone,
in
for me it does,
hospitality.
but not for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What stories do you want people to like associate with Four Walls?
So I think we're still trying to find our footing, right? So we have a few things going for us. There's one, which is of course the fan base, the Always Sunny fan base, and it's sort of low hanging fruit, if you will. And it's something that we're obviously working on, and we're marketing towards that fan base, and we're associated with that fan base, and they've been incredible. They're all these like secret handshakes that I know nothing about. I'm not was never a fan of the show. Obviously, I've had to do my homework, and now I'm watching the show. But I don't want the brand. I don't think, like I said before, like this brand shouldn't stand and fall with that show. It's a great amplifier, and I think the DNA and the culture of that show and who it attracts is really synonymous with Four Walls. But where I think Four Walls can lead a mark is revival of this category in a sense, or maybe the reinvention of the Irish. Irish American whiskey is not really a thing, and so we want to make it a thing. And what does that mean? I mean, of course, there's a lot of this kind of immigrant sensibility, like the Irish American connection. St. Paddy's Day obviously is a huge platform for us, and everything that comes with it. We want to make a mark in that sense, that sort of back to basics, simple drinks. We're all for the bartender and for the four walls of a bar, not in a sort of nerdy cocktail sense, but in a much more fun and let's get together and make some mistakes, and make bad decisions together kind of a way. So that for me is Four Walls.
Yeah, that's cool. And there's an era right now where so many brands are jumping into like the RTD space, right? The NA spirits and some tech enhanced tastings and all kinds of crazy shit that's happening. How do you decide, what trends to follow and really what ones just to stay away from?
I don't believe in following trends. I mean, it's really easy to say that.
Good for you. Let's put that on a t-shirt. I love it. He just said he doesn't believe in following trends. Oh,
not in business,
Yes.
At least not in business, not if you're an entrepreneur. If you're Coca-Cola, right? If you are Absolute Vodka, if you are at the margins, making sure you're constantly growing and you're constantly grabbing new consumers, you already have all the consumers. And so you have to follow trends, because if you don't, you're gone, right? And so large multinational brands spend a fortune on identifying trends and trying to identify trends before they happen. And that's an impossible job, right? And that's where entrepreneurs come in, because they're much more nimble. And Ford's Gin is a good example. I mean, we launched in 2012. There were 7 cocktail bars in New York City. I mean, now every single bar has a cocktail list, and it was a feeling, not an analysis. And that's the difference. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to follow trends, you're just going to be all over the place and you're going to forget who you are and what you're about. The only way to make it as an entrepreneur is to pick a lane, something that speaks to you. And if you love it, someone else will too. And that's it. So these RTDs and all of these other things are great if they are, launched and invented by someone who's really passionate about that thing. But if you're doing it because others are doing it, I don't know if that's going to work. At least not as an entrepreneur. It works for big companies because it's all data driven. And, and my wife worked at Diageo for many years, and I was at Pernod Ricard, of course. And those successes are few and far between, but that is the business model, and that works. But for an entrepreneur, like if you're trying to follow trends, that's a hard one to
I think it'd be exhausting.
I completely.
Right?
You know what? And it's just
so many people are doing it though, and doing it terribly.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness out there right now, and but out of weirdness, that's how that's where the magic is, and you only hear about the successes and you don't hear about the failures, which is why this space brings new entrepreneurs every day, and they have no idea how hard it is, but it's good that they don't know, because otherwise they'd never do it. Right. So
that is so true. How do you stay creatively and professionally energized in an industry that it moves so fast? What inspires you?
What inspires me? There's nothing like success, to sort of beget success. Like when we're working on a campaign now, we're still sort of putting the finishing touches on it, but it's addressing this sort of friendship recession and the fact that, many people are choosing to stay home and not go out. And by the way, it's not about drinking, right? It's more about like seeing people and getting out there and just like human connection and human interaction. And so we're working with Uber to see if we can come up with a campaign to bring people to the bar as opposed to bringing people home from the bar, and sort of almost like a Just Do It campaign. And that's inspiring to me, because that's trying to be part of the solution in a sense. Like when you're in the liquor industry, like you're obviously part of the problem, right? There are aspects to alcohol that are problematic and controversial and should be taken seriously. But there are also aspects to alcohol that can be part of the solution when it comes to people's connectedness. And it's been a social lubricant since the dawn of time. And I think that's ignoring that is stupid, and being honest about that, I think, is a little bit in the zeitgeist right now. So if we can play a part in connecting people and having people experience hospitality and again, making bad decisions together, that would be inspiring to me. Just like Fourth Gin was inspiring in the sense that we contributed to the sort of the emergence of the cocktail movement and to good drinks. So just playing a part in sort of in something that touches people, it sounds trite, but it's honest. Like I do think that's where it gets exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. When people look back on Four Walls 10 to 15 years from now, what do you hope that they say about the brand?
I think cracking this sort of, I think if we can establish a brand that's honest while still being fueled by a celebrity component, that's a beautiful balancing act, right? A brand that's honest and not cynical, that's owned and operated by these three celebrities and doesn't come across as a cynical sort of money grab, and reaches success that way. That would be cool. But really, success is like if we exist in 10 to 15 years from now, like that would be amazing. And back to what I was saying before, getting people, touching people's lives and actually hiring people and contributing to their careers, that would be incredible.
I think it's really neat that you are building a new category. When we talk about, Irish American whiskey, it's to me, as somebody who judges a lot of the spirit competitions, right, that are out there. And one of the hottest ones I think I did 5 this year so far, right, is that I keep seeing like the American single malt whiskey over and over and over. And so you might really be onto something that's cool and new and I think very exciting.
I think so. It's like cross cooking, there's Tex-Mex or what have you, right? You take something and you Americanize it a little bit, or you take something American and you make it more European, or I think there is, that's what happened with aviation, frankly, right? You took something that was very English, gin, and you made it American. But yeah, taking something and you put a cultural twist to it, an American twist to it, and you look at our brand, it's the eagle and the shamrock. It's like doing that in a way that's honest and fun. That would be cool to sort of establish that.
I think it's really cool. Are you up for some quick fire questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. I put you on the spot. What's the best drink you ever had and where were you?
The Martinez.
Oh,
I don't know where I was, but I
must have been really good.
isn't it just the Martinez and the Boulevardier? Those two. I love a Negroni, but like those are just these underrated drinks. I think the Martinez, especially because I made it for my wife when I proposed to her. So that has a special place in my heart.
That's very sweet. What's your guilty pleasure drink?
Four Walls and ginger ale.
Four Walls and ginger ale. Okay.
That's delicious and simple and just like, yeah, give me all the high fructose corn syrup. It's great.
There you go. Mine's a grasshopper. So you're much more refined than me.
That.
What's that?
Grasshoppers are incredible.
Freaking love them.
And they're back.
I have no shame. I've always loved them. Who's someone in the spirits industry that you really admire and why?
I mean, I do admire Simon Ford, right? And he's one of my best friends. I just admire his incredible honesty and stamina. Like stamina especially. I don't know how he does that, and to this day, he's still out, preaching the gospel. But he's consistent in the sense that he speaks his truth constantly, and he never deviates from that. So, yeah, it's just he comes to mind immediately, and not just because he's a friend.
Yeah, he's a really good friend, and he hasn't changed throughout the years. I met him when he was with Plymouth, right, and Absolute, and all that years ago. Him and Patino were on the road together, and God bless Patino. Yep. But I remember I was at a wedding about, maybe 3 weeks ago, and Simon was there, and big group of us were all dancing, having so much fun. He's like, I'm supposed to go to Italy tonight. Like, what? What are you talking about? He looks at his phone. He's like, shit, like I booked a flight to Italy, but it's in the wrong week. I'm not supposed to go to, I mean, like nothing's changed. Okay. Long story short, like nothing's changed with that guy. He's like, he always says about bartenders, right? They're all rock and rollers, but without the instruments.
They're
right. All rock stars without the instruments.
That's his favorite.
Yeah. He's definitely that way. He's hilarious. I love that we share that. If you could host Four Walls dinner and tasting with 3 guests, dead or alive, who would they be?
I would probably, my grandfather.
Oh,
never
nice.
met him. Or he died when I was 3. And just like, yeah, I just want to hear. I feel like I know him through anecdotes, but I've never sort of met him. So, and he was one of those, he's a little bit like me. Like he was great at hospitality, but he was an introvert. Which is a weird dichotomy, but you love having people over, but you suddenly hit a wall and need everyone to leave. That's me as well. And he would famously start fluffing pillows is one of the anecdotes that I always heard. And all guests knew that was time to leave.
Party's over, huh?
Exactly. So that's one. Seneca, perhaps, just to be a little bit, a little deeper and been listening to these like Stoicism podcasts recently. It'd be really cool to hear.
Yeah.
To hear, what was in that person's head. And who else? JFK.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like just the time he lived. I mean, the how close we were to a nuclear Armageddon. I just want to hear about.
We need to bring him back.
We do need to bring him back.
We need him desperately right now. Yeah. If you could just listen to like one record and grab one bottle for the night, what are you picking?
I would probably, this is going to be unexpected, perhaps, Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
I love that. I love that. I'm a big Metallica fan. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm Zeppelin is my, like, I could listen to, but I can't really pick because they're all amazing. But with Metallica, it's probably either Master of puppets or ride the lightning. And I just never get tired. I never tire also of Dire Straits.
Cool.
So I could just listen to that and I never tire of it. And sorry, what was this?
And what bottle are you going to enjoy with your vinyl?
I would enjoy a bottle of Tequila Cabeza, which was our tequila back at the
nice
86. That was an incredible product, 45%, 90 proof, just like incredibly Highland floral, just explosion of agave and smooth. And I ran into to Sergio Vivanco from the distillery down in Nom 1414, an incredible distillery. And it was just such a lovely re-encounter. I hadn't seen him in years. It was just such a warm meeting. This was at BCC. It's funny, by the way. It dawned on me when I was there that I'm now a veteran, and I've always felt like a dilettante and a beginner in this industry. And you wake up one day and it's like, oh, you're like older than everyone else.
Yeah, you wake up one day and you have gray hair, and
exactly.
You've been in the industry for decades. Yeah. Yeah, I get it, man. I totally get it. Yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you'll come back. Will you come back?
I hope you'll have me come back.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface here.
All right.
Yes. Yes. And if you're ever in Chicago, you must let me know. And with that, I want to wish you some great health and a lot of peace, and cheers to Four Walls. I can't wait to see what you all do next. I'm a fan. Cool.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, I definitely look forward to meeting you. And I'm seeing Simon next week, so we'll talk about you.
Yeah, only good things. Cheers, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Served Up is brought to you by Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits. Produced by Zunu.online. Music by We Killed the Lion can be found on Spotify. Make sure to subscribe to be notified of our future Served Up episodes. Cheers.